Letitia, you're in kind of a bad spot here at this moment in time. You see, the White House feels very differently. Here's Caroline Leavitt in a press conference that just ended moments ago, speaking about the issue of immigration and how strongly this administration feels about it. And don't forget, they kind of get their power there from the Constitution to go after this. And she's proud of the work that they are doing right now to round up criminals.
On January 27th, 2025, ICE Chicago arrested a citizen of Guatemala who has been convicted of solicitation to meet a child, disturbing, and sentenced to 24 months probation. On January 28th, 2025, ICE Atlanta arrested a citizen of South Korea who has been convicted of 9 counts of possession or control of material depicting minors in sexually explicit conduct. On January 28th, ICE New York arrested a Mexican national previously charged by the state of New York for attempted murder and possession of a weapon and assault. And on January 28th, ICE Philly arrested a citizen of Mexico who has been convicted of possession of child pornography. Our message is simple. If you are a criminal illegal alien, you will be arrested and deported.
So that did not sit well with the media. It's not sitting well with Letitia James. New York's Letitia James is apparently not in agreement with Whoopi Goldberg on this because she writes New York has laws that protect immigrants and limit cooperation with federal immigration enforcement efforts. Those laws should be followed by law enforcement officials in our state. It's always been us to uphold our laws and protect immigrant New Yorkers. So Caroline was sort of asked about that too.
Are these sanctuary city leaders, are they violating the law?
I would certainly think so. I'd have to check back on which specific law they're violating, but certainly if they're not enforcing our nation's immigration law, sounds like they are breaking the law. And I would also add that their constituents don't approve of that. You've seen residents in Chicago show up at their city council meetings infuriated with their leadership in that city because they are working very hard to provide for their families. They want public safety and law and order, and their officials have abandoned those very basic American principles in these cities. And the American people want law and order. It's, again, an overwhelmingly popular policy to deport illegal criminals from our nation's interior, and this administration will continue to affect that goal.
Yeah, well, I'm going to help her out here because the reality is this. The Constitution actually does provide the federal government with the power to have people in or out of the country. Like that's one of the, the Constitution actually is very limiting if you think about it for federal powers. But one of the things it absolutely surely does is give through the Commerce Clause, through Section 8. I mean, there's a variety of examples. And we should do a whole show on that because Letitia needs to be schooled, let me say. And the California guy needs to be schooled too. But anyway, we have that ability. I mean, unless you want to secede New York, unless you want to secede California, guess what? We're in control of the border. And therefore, you can't be at odds with us, despite your sort of delusional ways to try and interpret the law.
Not only does this administration's new policy put people at risk, but it is plainly unconstitutional. The president does not get to decide which laws to enforce and for whom. When Congress dedicates funding for a program, the president cannot pull that funding on a whim.
And of course, she says, I have steel in my backbones. I'm not afraid of Donald Trump. So she's going to go after him with all she's got. And I think she may just wind up on the wrong side of the law. In more ways than one. Not just for that, but also because of how she went after Donald Trump to the tune of nearly $500 million, trying to get in the middle of a deal between him and his banker. It's like, you know what? Your bank says, hey, you want a home equity line of credit? We're going to send out somebody to do an appraisal. You say, well, my house is this many square feet and I think it's worth this. And they say, okay, well, we're going to have the appraisal guy decide that, or gal. And then the appraisal guy or gal decides, yeah, it's worth that. We will make the loan to you. And then you pay it back. But somehow the attorney general for your state comes along and says, no, that's not what we think your house was worth. That's a problem for Letitia. She's got that going on. Second Court of Appeals, the Court of Appeals in the state of New York. We're waiting on them. I'm getting a little annoyed, to be honest. They should come forward with this very, very soon. They're going to throw that thing out.